Hi everyone, we are here with Jennifer Potts, spokesperson of Tele-Onthaal that is member of the Belgian Confederation for IFOTES. So, Jennifer, the coronavirus emergency forced many countries to adopt severe measures for this social and physical distancing, which may create isolation for many people. We focus with you on the helpline service in Belgium during this emergency. So, has Tele-Onthaal adopted any additional measure to implement and to ensure the service during the coronavirus pandemic?
Yes, we did. But first, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Tele-Onthaal. Tele-Onthaal is the Flemish listening service of Belgium. In Belgium, we have the Walloon part and the German part with Teleaccueil and Telefoonhilfe. But Tele-Onthaal is for the Flemish part of the country, and we have about 6.5 million of people. And in Tele-Onthaal, normally we have about 10,000 calls a month. And we do listening service by telephone and chats. Now, for the corona crisis, we had some internal measurements that we are doing differently than otherwise. First of all, our people in the listening service, they really come to the offices of Tele-Onthaal, so they do not work at home. So we have about 600 volunteers in Tele-Onthaal, and they come to the service in 5 different locations in Belgium. So first of all, with social distancing and also with the lockdown, it was quite difficult for everybody to come to the service. So we had about 450 people who could still come to the listening service. For that, we had chat measurements that people could chat now from home. So the telephone we organized still at the listening service, but we implied other measurements so that the volunteers could chat from home. So that's a big difference for us. So we could do that, and by that we could implement more chat volunteers than otherwise. We also had the arrangement that if there would be a second lockdown, we had technical arrangement that people could take the calls from home. So now we are prepared that if there would be a second wave of corona, and if there was another lockdown and more volunteers, we can do the telephone from home. So that's an important internal measurement. We also had some external measurements because in Belgium there were from the government, there were lots of emergency planning, and they really asked us to represent the helpline in all the different kinds of reunions. So we had to really be there, and it's very important that we had some cooperations with other welfare organizations that normally we don't really act with them all the time, but now we really had some more cooperations with them than otherwise. So that's 2 important things, that internal measurements and also external. We have more cooperations with other welfare organizations we do during Corona than otherwise.
Okay, this is very interesting. And what kind of calls did you receive during this emergency?
So I think like the other colleagues in Europe, first of all, there was lots of questions about health, and there was lots of anxiety at the beginning of the corona and first of all of the lockdown. So there were lots of people really anxious to really ventilate the anxiety. There were people, first of all, who are anxious before, that really have mental problems and mental difficulties that were really more difficult, but we also had lots of people who contacted us for the first time. So normally we have about 1/3 of the people who call us that really say that we are giving the call for the first time. Now that more people really found the helpline for the first time, and they wanted to talk about the anxiety. So that was at the beginning the most important theme. Then we also had lots of calls about relationships. People were very concerned about getting sick themselves, but were also very concerned about people they loved who are going to get ill. People were also very concerned about their children. And because of the lockdown, lots of people had to work at home, or children didn't go to school, and there were quite some difficulties in families, so that people really wanted to talk about conflicts within the families, with the children, or with the parents. So that was a very important theme as well. But the most important theme we really experience is loneliness. Normally in Tele-Onthaal, we have about 10 to 50% of the conversations are about loneliness. But during the past few months, we had about 25% of the calls about loneliness. First of all, there were lots of people who are lonely before Corona. They have less network, less family, less friends, who really experience more loneliness because they can't go out anyway. And that's very difficult. That sometimes we really have some call takers who didn't hear anybody for lots of days and calls us. But we also, about loneliness, experience people who contact us for the first time. And it were, first of all, lots of people who are the younger elderly, people about 60, not the very old age, but most of all people about 60 years old, who normally have lots of network and relationships, or still have some volunteer work, but now because of the lockdown, they couldn't see their children, they couldn't see family, and they really experience a difficult time. So loneliness is really now a big issue during the crisis.
And who are the people calling in this period? You already said something about this, speaking about the number of calls, but could you detect a sort of profile of the caller?
First of all, but that's just like the average we have all the time, more women. So we have about I think about 70% women who calls us, but it's very good for us that now we have about 50% who contacts Tele-Onthaal for the first time, and they really say that, wherefore normally we have about 1/3. So people say that this is the first time I take my telephone and dial the number. We also have, as I told you before, lots of elderly people who contact us, but we see that on the chat we have, there are of course lots of younger people who contact us. And then for the chat audience, we see that it's for the most time people about in around their 20s who contact us for the chat. And of course, just as the elderly, we have lots of single people who contact us. So people who don't have, who are divorced, or widowers, or people who have never been married before that are single. They really have lots of difficulties. They have nobody to speak to, and that's a population who really contacts us a lot. So that's about the most important profile.
Good. And did you use the social media to reach the people in distress during the coronavirus emergency?
Yeah, Tele-Onthaal, we use social media a lot. Also, when it's not Corona time, we really see that when we see our public relations during the last few years, we really try to develop lots of social media content on Facebook and Twitter, and for the younger people more on Instagram. So we really did some daily posts now about Corona, just to say we are there. So some advertising, and also some interviews with volunteers. We really try different things to really postpone, because we see that people during the crisis and the lockdown, of course, there's lots of internet use, and lots of social media use. So it's very important to really focus on that point. We are also very happy that we have lots of media attention because of Corona crisis. We also had, as a spokesperson, I really had, I think during the last few months, I had more interviews than in the past few years. People call us media all the time, and it's very important that media really knows that we are actually, we can hear what society thinks. And lots of journalists, they call us and ask what are people talking about, and you really have lots of credibility as a helpline to really return those signals of society to the media. And it's very important that you can also put that on social media, and that's lots of advantage for us now that you see that there's a return on social media, and then you have journalists, and it's very important for the return.
Mm-hmm. And speaking now a little bit about the volunteers, how do the volunteers face this challenge and how do they feel?
At the beginning, we were quite anxious because we have 600 volunteers, but quite a lot of our volunteers are above 50 years, 60 years, so they are quite vulnerable for the virus as well. A few of our volunteers are caretakers of somebody in their family. So we had, first of all, we had about 75% who really still wanted to come to the listening service. As I told you before, we had the chat, so we could also have some people working at home. But it was incredible as we thought that we were quite anxious. Are we going to be able to really continue the service for 24/7? But lots of people really said, I definitely want to do this. Some people really said, I want to come extra. So it was not a difficult. I think that they really experience the great social importance of the helplines, and especially the volunteers. You have lots of professional services as well, but in this time, I think that the value of the volunteer of the listening service is for the callers, but also for the volunteers, is now really, yeah, it's such an importance, and there's such a return also for the volunteers that they said, I can make a difference. And certainly for the lots of themes about loneliness, our volunteers are very happy that they can really do this. And they are also, I think their engagement is much bigger and much profounder than it used to be before, so they are very happy. Now for the professionals, we still have some coaching that we do during Corona crisis. We had a few of our professionals are working at home, but we are still making lots of efforts so that the volunteers, they really can see, of course, with the social distancing, can see the professionals for training or support as well. But we have some now, of course, lots of evolution to make them the few coming months. How is the service going to be? Will we be able to have trainings within small groups, about 30, 20 people? Will we have trainings with larger groups? It's really yeah, we have to see what the few coming months will be. But the volunteers are really happy that they did this work, and we also see that the society, the other welfare organizations are so happy that we could do this, and this is really important for the volunteers as well, that they are appreciated for their work.
So your organization has been really very active and present on the media, on the social, addressing support and information. So what are the outcomes of this intense activity, and how is the service developing after the coronavirus emergency?
I think the most important part is that the number of calls we had a few months, we had about 25% more calls than we used to have. So I told you, normally we have about 10,000 calls a month, chat and telephone, and now we have about 12,000 and even more. So we really had a lot of augmentation of the listening service. That's the first thing. But I think the most important thing is that lots of people really experience the strength of the listening service during Corona and contact us for the first time. So I think that even if people will have mental difficulties, they now know they know Tele-Onthaal now, and much more than before. I think that if we had some public relations during the last few years, now we have such an exposure during the last months that now really people really know about the strength and the advantages of the helpline. That's the most important thing. Not only the population of Belgium, but also the other welfare organizations and the government. I think we had some credibility, and Tele-Onthaal is also well supported by our government, but I think now they really know that we are a partner who they can depend on. We are a very, very loyal partner, well organized, so the government and other welfare organizations, they really appreciate us, and I think we could consolidate our role in society. And then one thing that was very important for us is that we really had the luck that the Belgian monarchy even contacted us. We had a call from the Queen Matilda, and she really wanted to speak to Tele-Onthaal. So she wanted to hear what difficulties we have, which people call us, and she really wanted to appreciate and say thanks to all the volunteers. So even the monarchy is really appreciates our work, and that's very important for us, for our status, for the population, but also for our volunteers. That even the Queen had a conversation of 30 minutes with Tele-Onthaal 2 years. So that's very important for us, that now we are very happy that we have this role in society recognized by the population, government, welfare organization, and the royal house.
Wow, this is a really big success. And visibility is very important. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for the interesting information, and all the best for the important work that you are doing for Belgium and for the people over there.
Thank you very much. Bye to everyone, and good luck for the other listening services.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.